Hello, everyone. Welcome to this product-led masterclass. It is amazing having you here. Both Pierce and I were just talking about, there's so many people here that have signed up. This masterclass has over 650 people who have signed up, which is amazing. And so thank you for being here right on the dot. So we're always going to start off with a fun kind of question of the day to get everyone kind of, putting comments in the chat and participating. So if you want to make this like much more fun, interactive kind of class together, I'd encourage you, if you can, just flip on your video camera, say hi. It's always way more fun. If you're game for that, it's always a lot more engaging, I find, whenever I listen to stuff that way. And one question of the day I want to hear from everyone here, hey, is what is your absolute favorite product-led company? What first comes to mind? I know I've asked this. I see some people who have been in our program before. I'm like, I know you've probably heard this one before. That's okay. This one always changes, and it's always interesting to see what are some of those companies when you think of like, hey, this is the absolute best product-led company. This is the one that first comes to mind. So feel free, drop it in the chat. I want to hear what is that product-led company that first comes to mind. So Parano, Notion, Tesla, interesting. Slack, you've worked there for 4 years. Yes, you are Baila, but I'm sure you will have a lot of other people saying Slack too. It's a popular one. Calmly, Sync, Slack, Miro. Yes, I think Miro is really, really cool in how basically they get all their other users to onboard other people when you share boards and stuff like that. Facebook, Dropbox, Figma, Canva. Oh, I love this chat. I love seeing so many people just jumping in here. This is what this is about. I love workshops, masterclasses where it's fun. We can participate together, learn from each other. And I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to bug you with some questions throughout the rest of this hour we have together because I want to hear your feedback. And this won't be one of those kind of boring, like, okay, here's what product-led growth is all about. No, I'm excited about this, and this is going to be fun. All right, so I am going to just dig right in to this masterclass, which is all about, wait for it, how to unlock product-led growth in 2022. So thumbs up if you can see my screen and everything okay. All right, beauty. All right, so now I got my view all set up. I can see you and everything else. All right, so we've gone through some of the favorite examples of product-led growth. Now what we're gonna do is just a little bit of a recap of the goal today. So there's two things I wanna cover and make sure we can accomplish today. Actually see Karen, it looks like there's, no, you can't see my screen. Can anyone else have that problem? Okay, now I see a thumbs up. There we go. All right, so the two goals here is one, I want to help you avoid some of the most common mistakes whenever you're building a product-led business. And then two, are actually going to go through a new step-by-step framework that will actually help you build a product-led business and go through the 5 steps of really just how to do it very quickly without making a lot of mistakes. So that's really the agenda for today. It's going to be very kind of quick. We're going to go through just those mistakes, what gets in your way of unlocking product-led growth. And then we're going to cover that framework that's going to give you some really great ideas and tidbits. So make sure to take some notes as far as how you can implement this within your business. And then we're just going to go through how to get started along the way for this. And so who am I? Some of you are very familiar with who I am. My street cred here is I hate bragging about myself, but I have wrote the best-selling book on product-led growth, co-authored product-led onboarding, interviewed hundreds of the world's top product-led growth experts. And I have actually helped some of the fastest growing startups and Fortune 500 companies implement product-led growth. And they've seen some pretty incredible results. So I'm here to be your guide as far as how to unlock product-led growth. Now I want to get back to that first agenda item we talked about, which was really just about, all right, how do you, like, what gets in your way of unlocking product-led growth? And so there's really 3 main things here. that get in your way. So one of the first ones is just scope creep. It's pretty scary when you think about product-led growth. There's actually a lot that goes into this. I got a funny kind of example to share with you as well in a bit. And then there's just focus. Like, where do you get started? I know some of you have definitely got started on your product-led growth journey, but then how do you know what it is that you need to be focusing in on next? And then the third part is just user success. So what kind of is getting in the way of your users being successful? So we're going to break down each of these problems real quick. And then we're going to go into the framework, which is the solution to really tackling these three main problems that are really getting in your way of unlocking product-led growth. All right. So the first problem is it's really easy to underestimate what goes into implementing product-led growth. And so it was actually early or late last year. This is funny, a little explicit alert here, but I saw this tweet and I couldn't help but laugh. I said, product-led growth is just a free trial, like calm it down. And I laughed because I was like, man, I could relate. Like 5 years ago, I thought too, like, hey, this product-led growth concept was literally just a free trial. So I was guilty of that too. And then when I started diving deep into it, I realized, oh my goodness, there's so much goodness into this whole go-to-market strategy, methodology, and way of just doing business. And so I kind of related this tweet to what we know of is the Titanic. If this is our ship, if this ship is our business, and we just say, you know, product-led growth is just like this little patch of ice. We know how this story goes. Full speed ahead. It's just a little piece of ice. And then it's a little shit moment. All right. We realize there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. This thing that we thought would take us, you know, a few months ends up taking quite a long time for us to really do. And that is because there's a lot more to product-led growth than meets the eye. At the top, you might see, oh my goodness, it's just that free trial free model. But when you really go beneath the surface, that's where it gets really interesting and fascinating. We start realizing like, oh my goodness, there's a pricing rehaul we might need to do if our pricing isn't on our website already. There's, you know, our onboarding approach. Maybe right now, when we onboard customers, it's all our customer success team. They're just hopping on calls with every single customer, and it's very manual. And we might have to completely rehaul it, make it completely self-serve. As far as really just our organizational structure, maybe that also has to change. It's very, very common for companies that are more sales-led to have to completely rehaul their org structure in order to get this done. And so basically the second problem I want to touch on here that is getting in your way of unlocking product-led growth is really just not understanding where to start, because that iceberg usually hits teams in about like month 1 or 2 of like trying to implement it. And then you realize, oh my goodness, where should we start? There's so many things. You probably heard or have basically asked yourself some of these questions like, should we start with like, you know, just launching a free trial? Should we start with, you know, updating our pricing? Should we just do user research? Should we, you know, maybe it's a hiring decision. It's a who, not how kind of thing where, you know what, we need to hire someone who's done this before to really just lead the charge. Maybe it's, you know what, it's convincing the executive team because they're not all bought in that we need to do this. Maybe it's just reading the book on product-led growth. Who knows? There's a ton of different ways of where you could potentially start. So that's the second problem. And then the third and last one I'll cover is you just don't know how to help your users level up. There's a lot of different things that you can do right now in order to help your users. You think, oh, of course, it's just an onboarding problem. But there is actually a lot more of the strategy that you need to think about. And we'll go into that as far as the framework next. But I want to just share this fun story that kind of relates this particular problem. So this company's called Snappa.com. I know the founder really well, and we're working very hard on improving their free trial conversion rate. And so they, on their website right now, even today, it's much like this, where it's just super easy to sign up. It's basically like a Canva competitor, and you can sign up and you could get started. But there was one step that they had to require users to do. And it seemed like a non-trivial step. You've probably done this like hundreds of times by now, where you sign up for the free product and then boom, please confirm your email. So like whether we can verify you're a human or this is a real account and all that stuff. And so it was a very non-trivial step. And so, but then I asked Chris, who's the CEO, like, what percentage of people actually go into the product, the ones that sign up? And he didn't know at that time. And then he went into the mix panel, found it out, and he said, wait, like 27% of people who sign up for our product never, ever go into the product. I said, interesting. All right. So clearly this one step, which it's actually a lot more than one step, it requires people to go to their email. It requires people to click on the email. It requires people to click the link in the email. In this case, it requires people to re-sign in and then click, submit, log in. And so there was about 5 to 6 steps for this one step. And so then I challenged him and said, what if we just delayed the step or completely eliminated it? So like the first time someone signs up for your product, they can just go into the product. And so they decided, they took 2 weeks, they delayed this step so that the first time user never had to go through this step, but the second time user would. And then one thing very interesting happened. We started to realize that when it came to their monthly recurring revenue, they actually saw a 20% monthly recurring revenue boost by the end of that month. So that 27% of users was able to go into the product. And I want you and everyone in the chat to try and answer, why did more users upgrade? It wasn't a revolutionary kind of strategy. It was just one simple thing that we did. So I'm going to read some of the chat. David, more users saw value, less friction. They actually got to use the product. Yes. Jessica, more than got the email. Kimberly, value up front. And Mark, because their time to value was shorter. Awesome. And yeah, everyone else, put what you think. Why did more users upgrade in this particular experience? Yeah, they built trust faster, Samuel. That's a really important part of building a product that sells stuff. Can you build that trust? Smoother user experience, Liam. Awesome. And Cloud, more experienced aha moments. Get experience without revealing, deciding. User had a chance to test before deciding. Easier for them to add others. Felt trust by giving users value, not just having their data collected. Got value quicker. Awesome. So you're all onto something here, but I want to push you one step further. You are right. Like when it comes to like it had a shorter time to value, people got to value faster. Absolutely. That is one of the big contributing factors. But what ultimately helped these users make that buying decision as far as, you know what, I'm going to pull up my credit card and just purchase this product, is that the user's success eventually became your success. And so this one concept is probably the most simple and important when it comes to building a product-led business. You have to realize that it really does come down to this, is that when you lead with your user success and you make it easier for them to really see the value in your product, whether that's just reducing the friction, making it easier for them, and helping them become successful, you will ultimately grow your business. Because what happened in that case with Snap as users is they were able to, once, see the value of the product. And then because they were able to build trust with that product, that experience, they had a lot more confidence in saying, you know what, I like this product. I was able to design some really incredible things. I want to continue using this product. And that's why they made that upgrading decision. And so that 27% of people, I just started converting like everyone else. And it wasn't because these users were bad users. They didn't care enough to go through that email confirmation step. No, they just had shorter attention spans when it came to really going in and seeing the value of the product. And who can really blame them? I mean, when we go through those steps too, additional friction, we check our email and we mean to like click on whatever that email is to confirm our email. And then we see there's some other important message in our inbox. It's easy. And who can blame them? And so this one concept is really the whole secret behind product-led growth. But how do you really implement it? And this is the big kind of question that we're going to break down in the framework that I'm going to share with you is how do you unlock product-led growth? Because it really does come down to that whole concept of your user success will eventually become your success. And so I wanted to introduce this framework. It's called the erupt system. And so there's 5 pieces to it, but each of them works off of each other. And it's really important to get the order right on this because it's going to answer those 3 problems that we covered at the beginning. If you remember them, one of them is just where do you focus? Where do you start? How do you avoid that scope creep? In this case, you're focusing on just 5 things. You're going to focus on the first one, go through ERUPT, and then it's really going to help you ultimately make your users successful without doing anything salesy or anything like that. It's just all about how do you help them experience the value of that product. All right, so the first part of this system is really called the end game. And so when I refer to the end game, what I'm thinking about is there's really 2 things here. What is the end game when it comes to actually becoming product-led within your organization? Why care about it? And I want to actually ask all of you, what is your end game when it comes to becoming product-led? Put it in the chat. What is like the number 1 thing you can think of when it comes to here's why I want to become product-led, or maybe it's a personal reason, maybe it's a business reason, as far as why you want to become product-led. So I see increased profitability, lower customer acquisition costs, faster time to sale, having obsessed customers, scaling, increasing revenue, finding product market fits, growing revenue. And wow, there's a torrent of chats. I love this. When I start reading one, I'm like, I can't catch up. All right, reduce work. Yes, and it's not because you're lazy. It's because you want to be efficient. I'll save you there. Customer-centric, immediate value for customers, learn by doing, try before you buy. It's how we all want to operate nowadays. Yes, it's trending, okay? Scaling, land and expands within enterprise, competitive differentiation in customer journey, earned revenue on autopilot. I will have to say, this is a lot of work when it comes to implementing this system. It sounds simple, but there's a lot here. Awesome. So thank you everyone for jumping in the chat. I love it. Keep doing it if you're still typing it up. So that's the first part, is understand your own reasons as well as your company's reasons. You got to really have a lot of motivation at the very beginning of this. And you want to have alignment, not just internally as far as like what your end game is for this, but also your company's end game. And then the third end game you need to have. So the first one was yourself. Why are you here? The second was your company's end game. Why does your company want to do this? The third really comes down to the most important one. You can't skip this one. And it's really, what is your user's end game? And so what I have here, this is in our product-led accelerator program. We go through this activity as well because it's so important where it is. Really just trying to understand what is it that your user's end game is. And we ask 3 questions, which is really helpful to kind of clarify what the user is hoping to get out of this and by using your product. And so the first thing is, what would they see? And this is really, really important. And you want to think about this. Okay, let's say I'm using Canva or snap.com and I'm using the product and I create my first poster. What do I see? I see something beautiful that me, not being a designer, is pretty great. And I feel pretty great. I feel a lot of those things. So I know I'm talking more about number 2, but I see a great piece of artwork that I couldn't do. And so think about for your product, put it in the chat. What do they see when they're successful? What is it? Because I know sometimes it's kind of hard. Maybe it's like data integrations that plows together and then they see, okay, thing is on the back end. But I want to hear from you, like, what do people see whenever they are successful within your particular product? Really try and think about it. We want to like work through this activity together. And the more people that drop in the chat, the more ideas we're going to get as well. So Mark, an organized calendar that gives them their time back. They see their book visually come to life. Effortless experience. They see smiles from friends. What about your product gives a value until the end? I guess when it gives value until the end, it would be that end part of like, what do they see at that point? Visualize future success, more free time, boost their productivity, increase productivity. They see themselves as changing the lives of their loved ones, simpler ways of working. Amazing. What I love about this too is like when you're reading these, it feels very inspirational. It should feel very inspirational because we're going to talk a little bit more about the game here that we're playing with our users and really helping them level up. That's what this is about. And so it should really feel inspirational. So if you haven't put it in yet in the chat, please do. I want to hear, what do these people see when they are successful? So thank you everyone for contributing there. And the next part of the end game for your user is really just, what do they feel? And this one's really important because people make buying decisions based on this. A lot of people say, you know what, they make decisions based on emotion, but then rationalize them based on the hard facts. It's so true. And so we need to know, okay, when it comes to our user, that's the most important part of this. What are they going to feel? When back to that Canva Snap example, when I created that first poster, I felt, wow, that was easy. That was really straightforward. That was, simple. All these like same words, simple, easy. But I want to hear from you in the chat. What do people feel whenever it comes to your particular product, whenever they are successful at this point? This is the end game for them. Confidence, in control of their time, in control that their role is valued, relieved, fulfilled. Awesome. Keep putting in there. I want to see a lot more in the chat. I want everyone to contribute if you can. Pride, control. Interesting. I've seen control pop up quite a bit. Proud of their success. Yes. How easy and stress-free it is to be on top of their business and customer relationships. Proud of their success. Smart. Amazing. Keep it in there. And informed. What else do your users feel whenever they're successful? And if you don't know too, this is a really good question to ask them as well, and whether it's user research interview or anything else. Empowered to make the right decisions, flexibility, relaxed, richer, efficient. Amazing. Yes, I'm a big sucker for efficiency. That one got me, Sheila. All right. And so the next part we're going to touch on as far as the end game is really, it comes down to, what do people hear? And this one's really important as well, because when it comes to your product, and let's say we were talking about like some of the best product-led experiences, there's Miro. I mean, I mentioned that as well. It's got like a pretty cool viral component on it. This isn't a pitch for Miro or anything like that, but if you've used it, it's a whiteboarding tool. And I share it like in a workshop like this or anything like that. Usually I hear, whoa, this is pretty cool. I've never used this before. This is like a really cool way to teach. And so like, I'm hearing that as an instructor. I'm like, oh, cool. Glad you like it. Hopefully it's clear what we're supposed to be focusing in on. So when it comes to your particular users, what do they hear from other people, other users? Think about it. Write in the chat as soon as you're done. You're amazing. Anesh, didn't know you were here. It's great to have you. Awesome. I wish I could do that. Yes, that is a really good one, Karen. I know there was this other product, it's called like Databox. There's like Clipfolio. It's basically just, dashboard tools to understand your business better. But you know what? It's a lot of people, when they use tools like that, is like, wow, you know what? I feel like I really understand my business or really understand my department and all these things. Finally, Yes, you are smart. This will change my business. You manage your time so well. You are so efficient. Back on that efficiency, I love it. You need Gedoodle TV. Safe content matters. Yes, that's smart. Amazing. Try and think about this too. And if you ever talk to your users, which you shouldn't be if you ever, should be regularly, ask them this, like, what are some things you hear whenever you're successful or whenever you do X in the product and see that value? Jessica, you've thought of everything. Now we can work from everywhere and be productive. I never need to send a money transfer again. All right, that is great. I want to check out your product, Samuel. Cool. So this is the end game. This is what matters when it comes to unlocking product-led growth. This is the really what we're working towards, is helping our users become successful. So these 3 questions are really, really important. I want you to, yes, you have a start here, but really dive deeper within this as well and see what else you can do to really help more people get to this particular point in your product. Because now that we have the end game, we know what it is for people to be successful, we can almost create a game around this. And so when you think about like the best games, whether it's like bowling, it's like, okay, bowling, I'm going to get a strike, right? Or I'm going to get a lot of points, knock down a lot of pins. The best games all have something that you can win at. Baseball, I'm going to get a home run. Your product, going to do this. There we go. All right. So the next part we're going to touch on is really just all about rules. Now, rules definitely have this like negative, connotation to it, but I'm going to share something positive about this. I think rules are amazing when it comes to your product and even games. Have you ever played a game where someone changes the rules, like you're about to win or something like that? They're like, oh, actually, don't worry about that. Like I have this other way. Okay, put in the chat. Does that like really get you angry? Or is that just me? When someone like changes the rules, they're like, oh my goodness. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, come on. Why do you have to do that now? It's just about to win. All right, yeah, it feels like cheating. All right, we get some angry emojis. By the way, I love everyone in the chat. Thank you for making this more fun. All right. Yes, I love rules if they make sense. All right. So it sounds like you are one of those people, Jenna, where if it doesn't make sense, you're going to change it. No, I'm just picking on you. But yes, so there is a couple of things about rules that you did point out, Jenna, which is the best games all have rules that make sense. They're easy to understand and everyone can agree on them. And so that's the foundation for the best games. And so whenever it comes to your product and the game we're about to play with being product-led, there's a lot of different ways we could slice and dice it. And so I'll touch on even just a few of them. Now, I'm going to give you a scary looking slide in a second, but I'm going to say there's about 6 different games we could play whenever it comes to creating a free product. There is, for instance, we could have more of an opt-in free trial, which if you've never heard of that, that's fine. That's a free trial where you don't need a credit card. It's great. Then there's your opt-out free trial, which is like, okay, a little more friction. You have that kind of free experience where you definitely do have to pull your credit card. That's one of the rules that you have. And then there's the usage-based free trial, which is something where, you know what, here's 1,000 units. You could use these 1,000 units for, share this product tooltip with 1,000 users, take as long as you want. That's the rule. And then there's also the other part, which is just, hey, here's the rule. You can get access to this part of the product for free forever. It's a great rule. Freemium's pretty powerful as far as that goes. And then there's the new product, which this one's not really a rule. It's just here because it is one of those ways you can make a product-led model. And then there's the last one, which is the sandbox tour. Like, hey, you can check out our product and tour around it, but you can't use your own data. That's the rule, right? So we have these varying degrees of rules whenever it comes to your product-led models. Yes, Jira, free trial, but need to put credit card out for opt-out. Yes. So rules are very important whenever it comes to being product-led. And if, let's say, you have the wrong rules, you might, let's say, pick the wrong model and it just doesn't really work. And so the way I'm going to share this with you is really, it can be simple, but it's going to look complex on this next slide. So when we think about this, I'll pause here for dramatic effect. As I get the slide ready and set it up for context, so it just doesn't hit you. All right, so when it comes to understanding what do you give away for free, I want you to think of beginner problems, intermediate problems, and advanced problems. So there's 3 different problem sets. And so when we think about that, think about, I'm trying to think of a really fun sport. What's everyone's favorite sport to play? Let's pick a fun sport. Actually, I lied. Okay, so skateboarding, rugby. You know what? I love these comments, but I'm going to pick my favorite sport. Pierce is going to laugh at me because whenever we talk at our team meetings, it's like, what do you do for the weekend, Wes? It's always pickleball. Pickleball, I don't care if you haven't played it. Pickleball is the best. All right. It's, you know, those other sports are great too, but pickleball is the best. Not biased at all. All right. Yes. Destroying tennis. Pickleball is basically like tennis meets ping pong. Yeah, it's right in between those. It's like, yeah, it is for seniors pretty much. My parents got me into it. All right. So yes, with pickleball, one of the things as far as the beginner problems of learning that sport is when you start playing, it's like hit the ball over the net. That's it. That's it. That's all you have to worry about when you start playing that game. An intermediate problem would be, all right, serve it fast so that your opponent can't hit the ball on the other side. That's something intermediate. Something advanced would be like, here's how to spike it or something like that so that your opponent can't get it and you can really win and you can learn how to move around very quickly. And so yes, spin. Thank you, Shane. I was trying to think of something more advanced, but that's much better. So in games, there's varying degrees of ability, and that's fine. That's actually what makes it fun. And so in your product, it's the same thing. All right. We're building a game where users can succeed. And so it's exactly the same. Now I'm going to share with our example at ProductLed so you can see how you can kind of build this out. And then I want you to start thinking about your product. What does that game look like? And then I'll tie it in as far as how this really impacts your own product-led model. All right, so ready for the scary slide? Thumbs up. All right, because this one, I didn't have time to really design, so I apologize. All right, so here it is. When it comes to product-led, we looked at this from the beginner milestones, which is, okay, the milestone 1 for our beginners to really level up from the first level to the next level. Our beginner milestone, if you can see here, is just, we want to help you understand the fundamentals of product-led growth. That to us is success. We want to do that. And we also want to do that completely for free. In fact, we don't want any customers in this beginner milestone. We would want to give everything away for free. That's why we give our book away for free. That's why we got our free certificate for product-led growth. We want to give away everything for the fundamentals of product-led growth. So you just get it. And you don't have to worry about that part. And so what we looked at is what are the typical problems that people have as far as that beginner milestone and some of those beginner problems. And it was really just like how to know what product-led growth is. It could literally just be that simple for us. That is. And then how to get started. How to know if product-led growth is right for my business. So those are some of the main kind of beginner problems. Now, whenever it comes to what do we give away for free? What does everyone think we should be giving away for free when it comes to the beginner problems? This is a quiz. What do you think we should be giving away for free when it comes to the beginner problems. Basic information, how-to content, how to get started, information, the what, the not how, basic info and starter how-tos, test drive, the most core and essential value proposition, small value, value nonetheless. Okay, so we're onto something here. Yes, a guide, PLG for beginners, 14-day trial with access to 90% of its features. Okay, so we're on to something here. When it comes to what do you give away for free, your free model, it should be all of the beginner problems. You should be able to solve all of those beginner problems for your users. Now, you touched on some things here in the chat, which is sometimes this might actually just be content. My goodness. Oh, we're talking about products, not content. But hey, if people are not sure about like what it is that you do or what your industry is all about, yes, help them with those specific things. But also give that away for your product as well. That should be something that you should be able to give away for free because you want, once again, to help your users level up, go from beginner problems to more intermediate problems. And so the kind of mindset shift here is that the goal isn't so much that we eliminate our users' problems. It's never that case. It's that we actually upgrade our users' problems. The goal here is to go from beginner problems to intermediate problems when it comes to our users. That's how we're leveling them up. We get people where they start here, beginner problems, and they're struggling with them. We want to help them actually have intermediate problems. And when they kind of rub up against some of those intermediate problems within your product, that's actually the really good point where you can monetize them. And they're actually willing to pay a lot more to have help with those particular problems because they trust you, that you actually are the right person, the right guide for them to solve their beginner problems. And so in the chat, I want you to share what could be that beginner milestone that if someone was to go through your product for that very first, let's say like you give them 14 days or like, it doesn't have to be 14 days, but what could someone realistically accomplish in 14 days? That's a very kind of like beginner problem for them. Just try and put in the chat. We're just spitballing, brainstorming ideas here. Don't worry if it's perfect or anything, but just put something where you feel like, you know what, this is what they could realistically do and accomplish in those first 14 days and solve some meaningful problem that gets them, wait for this, closer to the end game. It's all about this. We set the end game. Now we kind of be like, okay, here's where they start. What's that first milestone that they could do? Pascal, publish and share, write the first draft of their manuscript. Amazing. Envision ways to minimize or reduce paper in office in pursuit of paperless e-forms. Getting a patient to report how to their home exercises are going. Watch content without signing up. This connects the dots. It makes me more efficient. Create a report of where their time is going. Host a fun team meeting. I love those. Reach their deskless workforce. See how the weather will impact parts of their road network. Awesome. Keep going here because this one-liner that you're creating is basically what you're going to give away for free. We talked a little bit about product-led models and stuff like that, but what you're thinking about is, what do we give away for free here? And what are the rules that we would need to give someone this free value? And so if, for instance, it's like, hey, people could accomplish this in 14 days or 7 days, maybe we just give them a free trial or something like that. And that's fine for right now. If it's, you know what, people need a lot more time to do this, but they only need so many units of this product to accomplish that. All right, so give them the 1,000 users that they can share this with and see how that works. If it's, you know what, people with our product, there's a lot of different things they could do, but we just want to enable them to do some of the same repeatable things over and over again. But then when they need more advanced features like branding for their company, we charge them for that. And that's fine because that's a more intermediate problem. And then they can grow based on that. And then the other part is just like, well, do they even need to see, what this looks like for their data? If it's really complex to set up, could it be enough that they just see, a sandbox or a tour of what this looks like for their product? It's up to you. But what do you think for your specific business would be helpful when you look at some of the different models? What are you thinking? Which one might solve that beginner milestone the best? I know this is a lot I'm throwing at you. This is like a ton, but I want to just take a guess, educated guess based on what you've learned so far. Which one do you think makes the most sense to solve that beginner milestone? Do they need a lot of time? Do they need just a bit of time? Do they need just a little bit of features to solve this? Sheila, limited number of people. I want you to kind of share, which one you think might make the most sense for your particular business. Martin, freemium plus sandbox tour for more. Awesome. So I see you're already combining these. Come on, Martin. Yes, so this is actually possible. You can combine these, but I was trying to not say that, all right, because I want you to just focus on simple first, and then you can always complicate it. Thanks. I appreciate you allowing me to pick on you, Martin. All right, so Sandbox for George, our product is heavy up front for configure time, so trial would involve quite a bit of work to get going. Awesome. So one thing else, George, to think about as well, and when people go through our ProductLed Accelerator program, sometimes this is actually one of the outcomes, which is still very meaningful, which is, you know what, we realized that, our existing product, it solves very intermediate and complex problems. Like if you only solve this in your particular product, you might realize, and this is where this part comes in, we need the new product. We need something that's actually going to solve more of those beginner problems, because those are really important. I'll tell you an example, a personal one. So at Vidyard, we launched a free trial first, and it just bombed. Like it wasn't really that successful. And the reason why was the first thing we were solving was just intermediate problems. That's all we were solving. I was like, host your video on your website, gets marketing analytics, see who's watching your videos, all that fun stuff. But then the beginner problem was just, I didn't create a video first. And so when we went back to the drawing board, we actually launched a free product, which made it really easy to record video using Chrome. And so we helped create that new product, which was freemium at that time. And we went from 0 to 100,000 users very quickly. And the reason why that worked the second time was really because we started with the beginner problems. And so for some of you, this might actually be the realization that, you know what, we got to kind of hold up here because we need to focus on solving the beginner problems first, because we're not addressing them right now within our product experience for our user. And we're only attracting the users that are kind of here, which is actually a smaller segment of your market. So food for thought on this. Now, I want to get back to the framework, but I want to check in before I do. Is everyone kind of enjoying this so far? If you've learned something new, put in the chat. What's one thing that you've learned so far? If you have learned something, I want to see what is hitting home for you and what might not be. What's your one takeaway? All right, so 3 levels of problems: positioning, user endgame thinking, beginner problems versus immediate. Awesome. I played pickleball. Yes, I'm addicted to pickleball, the senior sport. Someone else said that. All right, giving away beginner problems. See, hear, feel is an interesting concept that I can combine PLG approaches. Yes, I love the breakdown of the 6 types of PLG. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. Now we're going to get back to the framework, erupt. All right, so the next part is user journey. So when you think of a typical user journey, as far as like, okay, we have the end game, we know what someone needs in order to get to level 1. Now it really comes down to, how do we get people there? And there's 3 components here that are really important. So we've identified the desired outcome is that end game for the user. Now we need to do is really, I call this the straight line onboarding approach. It's the bowling alley framework if you read my book. But in the straight line onboarding experience, what you're trying to do is you go through your product experience on your own. There's actually a really cool product. I haven't done this yet, but whether you record like a Loom or a Vidyard video or something like that, when you're going through the product experience on your own, you just kind of map out, okay, here's what I'm doing if I'm very efficient and trying to get to that first milestone within the product. You go through that on your own, you record all the steps. And then what I would do, I do this all the time in like Trello, or you could do it any kind of board. I just map out every single step, take a screenshot within that video, screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. It takes forever, but it's useful because you're going to map out every single step in that user journey in order to get to that beginner milestone. And then what you do, here's the simple part. I call it the red, green, yellow light system. It's very complex, actually. So if the red ones, you're going to look at that step and say, actually, we could completely remove that step and it wouldn't impact anything. In fact, people would just get there faster. And then there's the yellow lights out of all those steps. Those are the steps where when it comes to your onboarding journey, it might just be an advanced step. I'll give you an example of an advanced step. So let's say I'm signing up for Slack. I know one or two of you work there, so I'll pick on you, but this is actually well done. So here's the feedback. So whenever I share a Google Drive link or something like that, what's cool is then it prompts me, hey, do you want to make or like set up your Google Drive integration? It's like, great. Okay. So that's just in time onboarding, which is really great. Now, had Slack actually at the beginning of the journey asked me, okay, Wes, you set up your account, great job. And before even asking me to add my team or anything like that, it's like, now set up your integrations. So what? It's the wrong time. It's not the right time to do that. It's more of an advanced step. I don't need to do that stuff right now. It doesn't matter. Get my team in first before this. So some of those yellow steps are things you could just remove. And then your green steps are really just that straight line. And so the goal here is that's all that's left. You just have a straight line of all the must-have steps where you can get people towards that first milestone within your product. And then these two bumpers here, these are really just your conversational and your product bumper. So the conversational bumper is really important. It's a lot of emails. It could be text, depends on what kind of channels you use for your product. But when you realize, you know what, someone jumped off the straight line. Maybe they're stuck on step 5 and they haven't uploaded the script to their website. So they're not getting the data they need to really utilize the product. Okay, so what are we going to do to prompt them to get back in there and really set that up right? Maybe it's a message, maybe it's something else. And then the other part for the product bumper is, where do people get stuck within this journey? And so there's a lot of times when, you know what, you're going through a product experience and you land on the dashboard and it's like, boom, all right, you're just left there. That's, there's nothing else there that you could do. It's just blank slate. And you kind of have to figure out what it is that you need to do to really see value. Product bumper is really just, okay, someone goes into the product, they can easily see, okay, here's the next steps as far as what I need to do in order to get to that particular outcome within the product. So this is really, when we talk about user journey, what it's all about. It's about understanding what are the exact steps that someone needs to do within our product to see value, stripping out everything else that's not immediately applicable, and also delaying some steps that, you know what, someone who's solving that beginner milestone, they don't need right now. And then you're just using the product bumpers to make it really dummy proof that people can go through there, see value very easily. And so the second last step here of the erupt framework is really just purchase. So if you've gone through all the work, you have identified the end game for the user, you have identified the right rules, what they need to succeed to get to that first big milestone, and then you've crafted the user journey that is really successful for them to really get to that outcome. The next logical thing is actually to purchase. And why do you think that is? When people have experienced the value of the product, why do you think this is actually the next most logical step? Put it in the chat. Any reason's good reason. I'm not going to pick on you. I might have lied there. I sometimes do, but I'm kidding. All right, so put in the chat, why do you think the purchase step should come after really helping users get to that first value? Why not like before? So you can stay in business. because yeah, they have this aha moment in mind. You're onto something. Anyone else, feel free, jump in the chat, share. Revenue is king, the audience is primed, because you don't want to lose the momentum, value delivered, trust earned. They're primed to buy. We've solved their problem. Yes, the theory, reciprocity, emotional decision, when it works and it's powerful, it's worth paying for. They can grow with you. Yes, you've shown them value, so they can no longer have to question if you are able to deliver. I forget who mentioned it earlier when I was talking about the Snap example, but we talked a lot about trust. So whenever I was trying to come up with the subtitle for my book on product-led growth, I kid you not, I spent a month on that subtitle. It sounds so stupid. All right. But it was a month of like this panicking. I was talking to my partner, Kat. I'm like, hey, like, do you think it should be this? She's like, oh my goodness, like, shut up, Wes. Like, it doesn't matter that much. I'm like, but I think it does. And sure enough, like, it came back to this concept of like how to build a product that sells itself. And I thought, oh, that's way too bold. Like, that doesn't really always sound it. What are the salespeople going to think? Are they useless and all this thing? It's like, okay, I brought up a lot of negative kind of connotation to it. But then I thought more about it. I was like, actually, no, that is what it is. And when you think about, okay, I've used this product on my own, I've experienced the value of the product. It has sold me on this value. And if it's easy enough to purchase, then that is actually the next right step at this point in the journey. And so it really does become all about purchasing. And I know we're tight on time, but I'm going to share 3 pricing pages. They're all from product-led companies. I actually picked one from Slack. So the Slack folks can say, yay, on this end. And so, yeah, I'll share these 3 examples, and I want you to pick what are some of the common elements of these product-led companies, because I want you to come up with a solution here. So we got the first one. This is Slack. So make teamwork more productive. And we can see here, there's a free plan, pro plan, business, enterprise grid. I'm giving you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So now we're going to go to the next one, which is Zoom. So we're using Zoom. I'm going to give you 5 seconds again. Look at it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got Zoom. Done. Now this one is Canva. 5, 4, 3. Somebody doesn't see the screen. Does anyone else see the screen? Thumbs up. All right. All right, Steve, it's on your end. Sorry. All right, so we've looked at these pricing examples. Now, what did they have in common? Put in the chat, what are some of those things that they have in common? Yeah, David, free tiers, segments, tiers above, tiered pricing, tiers, good, better, best plans, 3-ish options, team size pricing, tiered, free to highest, free to enterprise, purchase CTA at the top. They have like get started, easy to do, call to action, price is obvious. Yeah. I think Martin, you're onto something there. It's transparent, it's easy. It's like, okay, which one do I do? It's pretty easy to self-select which one it is that you would have to pay for. And that's really what it's about. It's really a lot of sales-led companies, whenever you have this big transition of becoming more product-led, you do have to really have something that's easy, where people can understand in less than 5 seconds, which plan do I need to start? I'm sure all of you, if that was the first time you were going on to that pricing page, you could have easily decided, oh, okay, I'm just going to go to the free plan and then start there. And then I'm easily going to see that, okay, it's actually pretty affordable to start a lot of these other products or tiers as I kind of grow into that account and have more of those intermediate and advanced problems that I want to solve when it comes to whether it's Zoom, Slack, or anything else. So that's awesome that you were able to point that out. And the last thing I'll do to really wrap this framework up for erupt is just team. So team is super important. One of the biggest myths when it comes to building a product-led business is that it's just the product team, because it's called product-led. Like, I mean, I get it, but I want to rethink who owns product-led growth in a company. So there's the product team. Of course, I'll start there since a lot of you are in product, but you could ask yourself, you know what could be done to our product to help our users become more successful? And then there's also your customer success team, which needs to be asking, how could we potentially create a product where our customers can become successful without our help? That's amazing. Finance, how might we even leverage the free product to reduce our customer acquisition costs? And then on the marketing front, you could even ask yourself, how might we use the product to generate leads for the business? And there's tons of amazing examples there. There's the HubSpot website grader. There's example of ConvertKit. They created a free landing page tool to help their users solve some of those beginner problems of getting leads before they sign up for their email marketing platform. Sales, how can we use our product to qualify our users for us? And this is really just looking at the data. Okay, what's going on? What are people using within the product to really see value? And then from engineering, how could we just create a product with a quick time to value? So this is really, when we look at the erupt system, these are the 5 things. These are the first 5 things you need to start with when you are looking to unlock product-led growth. You need to start with that first, the end game. What is that for your particular user? What do they think? What do they see? What do they feel? What do they hear from other people when it comes to that success within your product? And then for R, what are some of the rules of the game that you're trying to create to set people up for success? What is that level 1? I solve the beginner problems look like? What does that level 2? It's more intermediate problems look like, and then advanced problems as well. And then for you, you really got to look at, okay, what is the user journey we could craft so that we could help people get there as soon as possible? Because in that first time user onboarding experience, it is so important for people to get there as fast as possible. And then for P, how do we make it easy for people to really purchase? And then T, how do we get the rest of the team involved? Because this is not just a product initiative. There's a lot more people that are involved. So Lois Star, I saw you wanted to flip back to the slide. I imagine you probably wanted to take a screenshot. Pierce will actually be sending you a follow-up with all the slides as well. So bear in mind, no need, but I mean, if you need it right now, go for it. So what I wanted to do real quick is just share a little bit more about the kind of next step. If you are interested in really taking the next step in really implementing product-led growth. So this won't be a long kind of thing or anything like this. This is just for those who are actually serious about taking action. We actually have what's known as the Product-Led Accelerator program. So this is a 4-week program where we actually go through that erupt system that we just talked about. We go through how to really understand your users, how to understand everything that goes on that they're really focusing in on, how to set them up for success. And then we just go through like, how do you know, what are some of those rules of the game? What model will work best for your particular business? And then we'll talk about just about, okay, how do you onboard people, right? How do you get them to that moment? They say, yeah, I got it. I completed level 1 and I'm excited. I want to actually pay for this particular product and actually purchase it. And then we make it easy for them. And then the last part is just, how do you really involve your team? And so if this is something that you're interested in, we're going to go to QA in a second. But if you just go to ProductLed.com, that is really where you can learn more about this. This is the whole program itself. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a lot of fun. I can feel the energy in this room. This is awesome. And if you are interested in kind of getting started and really implementing this to unlock your product-led growth, don't hesitate to check out ProductLed.com and hope to see you in one of the future cohorts. But bye for now and have an amazing day ahead.